Stuck on an island with 2 decks in hand. With Takeoff on board, things are just as I planned. I'm thinking I'll win when my boo plays triple coils, inks and brawls, and my plans are foiled.
Come on now, let's play some Lorcana. Watch Big Takeoff rise up from dueling lava. We'll slurp spaghetti like the tramp with seeds of blue to help us ramp a smorgasbord of lore. It's Lorcana.
We're late. We're late for a very important date, Katie.
Yes, indeed we are. Much like the little white rabbit himself, here we are, eons late for our weekly podcast, which we've never missed a week of.
And we still haven't. It's only been a few days.
It's true.
We apologize. We know that you rely on us for your Lorcana news viewed through the lens of Disney snack food. And so we will endeavor to not let it happen without notice. Again, there's just a lot going on for us right now.
Boy, is there ever. I have another show going up at school, which means that I have been in tech all week, and it means that Brett's been in tech all week with me.
You're growing an entirely new human being inside of you every day.
And that makes one tired.
And then we're also buying a house for the first time.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff going on. Buying a house is really difficult.
That's been the least pleasant thing. Everything else we can handle and figure out. Even like making a baby and raising a baby, I think is going to be a lot easier than buying a house.
There are all of these people who supposedly are trying to help you buy the house, like the realtor and the underwriter and the mortgage lender, and the sellers themselves want to sell the house to you, apparently. But somehow they still make it really hard.
Yeah, it really feels like the whole world is against you in this matter.
Like all we want to do is completely empty our bank accounts of every dollar that we have saved up.
Yeah, no one will let us do that.
But we're getting there. We've made a lot of headway. It seems like, knock on wood, we will have a house in a few weeks.
Yeah, we hope so. We'll just keep on holding our breath. What's a couple more weeks of tremendous anxiety?
We'll just use this podcast to assuage all of our concerns.
Indeed.
And we hope that it does the same for you, dear listener.
Yes.
Katie, what's going on in the world of Lorcanas? Hopefully something better than all of this.
You know, I'd say the thing that's better than all of this right now is the meta. We're having fun with this new meta. We've been testing a lot of decks. We've had the opportunity to play with a lot of folks in our local scene. And we have a brand new league that just started at Diversions.
Yeah, the power level of the cards in this set is so much higher. It's making it a lot more fun to engage with the meta compared to last set, in my opinion. It's also going to make League pretty fun. I think that the set, as a self-contained entity, has a lot of really powerful synergies. You can build some really cool, especially dual ink decks. So, looking forward to a new iteration of our starter deck league.
And I think dual ink adds a new wrinkle to choosing your color combinations earlier, right? Because as we've said before, the starter deck league, like the way we're playing it at our store and the way we've played it in sets past, is that you get to pick a starter deck that you start with, and every week you continue modifying and trading cards so that your deck eventually loses all the ink colors except for 2. So in the first week you lose an ink color, next week you lose 2 ink colors, third week you lose 3 ink colors. So there are a lot of choices to be made. And I think the dual ink cards could be helping and or hindering that process.
It's interesting because normally you might trade for a bomb card, right? Like, say it's set 5 and you make a trade for Elsa, 5-drop Elsa. You're like, okay, I have this bomb super rare. I guess I'm going to play Amethyst to try to use this cool Elsa card. That locks in one of your colors. Whereas in this iteration of the league, if you make a big trade for an Elsa, for a big super rare Elsa, all of a sudden you've locked in both Amethyst and Sapphire as your colors. So you have to make earlier decisions, I think, about which color combination to play. So we'll see how it shakes out with League, and we'll see where it drives people, what decks it drives folks to play.
There was also something exciting happening at our friendly local gaming store. There was a brand new layout to the store. And I wonder if any listeners can perhaps commiserate with how their store was laid out or is laid out, or dream of a way that they would lay out a store someday. But here's what happened.
We walked in and saw that the entire store had been rearranged on a drastic scale. I mean, it looked entirely different in this store. Whereas before you'd walk in and you'd have, kind of product on one half of the store and then tables along the other half of the store. This time we walked in and all we could see was product. There were no tables anywhere. Product was stacked higher. There were taller displays. It looked a lot more full of product, I would say. And then as you made your way towards the back of the store, you saw that the play area had been kind of separated from the product. And so you had this enclave at the rear of the store with cubbies along one wall and a nice clean egress to the restroom. And you didn't feel like you were maybe keeping folks from looking at product if you were playing really close to it. Previously, it kind of felt like, and I didn't realize this until we saw the new arrangement in the store, it kind of felt like if you were playing, maybe the excitement of your game, people wouldn't want to look at product that was near you. They'd feel a little bit reticent to hover. So now I think it's better for both customers and for folks playing. So just goes to show you what a little bit of ingenuity in terms of, thinking about the feng shui of your friendly local gaming store can do.
I was just going to say, what about the feng shui? I was so impressed by it, and it holds more people back there too. And our community, especially at this diversions location, has really been growing for Lorcana events. So it was nice to stretch out our elbows during this last league.
I believe the everyday capacity went from about 20 people to 30. So
Dang.
That's great, especially because every single Lorcana event at this store has been selling out. So Lorcana is thriving in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, the heart and soul of Disney's Lorcana. Well, Brett, I don't know about you, but I'm getting pretty peckish.
Yeah, let's go on into the restaurant.
Hi.
Hi, Geraldine. Whoa, what's that?
Can you take this? Can you just take this food, please? Please.
Okay.
I need to put it on your table.
Okay, here.
And then I have,
Whoa, what are you doing?
I have to light it on fire.
Oh my god, it's on fire. Oh my god, that's a big fire.
What am I supposed to do now?
Here, take
Do I
this,
put it out?
throw this water on it?
No, the water's gonna ruin the dish. They told me not to do that.
Oh, it's going down. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I'm like,
Was it supposed to do that?
Yeah. So it's like a new dish?
That was crazy. That was a lot of fire, Geraldine.
Yeah.
Are you sure that was supposed to do that?
Do you guys want anything to drink, or?
Well, I just dumped my water on this dish, so.
Yeah, right.
I'll take a water, I guess. Thanks.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Whoa, what the heck?
Holy cow.
I think that burned off her eyebrows. I didn't want to make her feel worse, but didn't it look like she didn't have eyebrows anymore?
Yeah. Poor Geraldine.
Yikes.
What is this that we're looking at?
Well, I think it's like some kind of baked Alaska deal here.
Yeah, flambé.
Yeah, it's en flambé.
I'll say. It's all just char now, but at one point it was supposed to be something en flambé.
Yes. It looks like a pile of coal. I don't think we should eat it. But while we're sitting here surrounded by smoke and ash, I think it's time that we discuss some hot takes.
Ooh.
We're talking hot takes that are truly, truly burning hot. We're not just talking about obvious things like
Noi is an abomination that shouldn't exist in either Raya or Lorcana.
Exactly, right. We're not going for surface level things.
Everybody agrees about that anyway, so.
Sure.
So we're looking for things that are truly hot takes, ideas that are controversial, maybe things that we don't even agree with, but we're going to throw them out there.
Yes, some of these are personally held beliefs by us, and some of them are just hot topics in the world of Lorcana. But let's walk through these. Let's debate them a little bit.
I've got one.
Hit it.
Lorcana would have a better metagame if they just banned about 30 cards right now.
Wow, could you explain that a little more?
So if you take the 30 or so most powerful cards in Lorcana, I'm talking like Rapunzel and Diablo and Calhoun and Hiram, all of the cards that are auto-includes in any given color combination, if you just eliminate those, the metagame would broaden so quickly and so much.
That's interesting. I wonder if it wouldn't just be a matter of time before that same kind of a card came back under a different guise.
I think that when you look at the power level of cards in Lorcana, imagine a glacier where right now all we see of the cards that they print is the very tip of that iceberg, right? It's a very small amount of cards, and they're all the most powerful cards that get put into a deck. As you go down in power level, you get more cards for that given power level. So like most cards are where the iceberg is like the broadest at the bottom. So if you just skim off the top there of those few very powerful cards, you're going to knock down the power level and make so many more cards playable within that metagame.
I definitely see what you're saying in terms of trimming the fat and making the whole thing healthier. But I do wonder if keeping these great cards in the game just inherently makes the game better and maybe provides the space for other cards that are good, that work with these cards that are already good.
Could be.
Speaking of banning cards from Lorcana, I have a hot take here.
Yeah.
I think there should be ways to ban cards, obviously, and then be able to unban the cards. If for set 8, 9, 10, I say, okay, Rapunzel's banned, but she's going to come back in set 11. That would be cool.
You don't think that that's confusing to new players if there's this constantly shifting list of cards that they can't play with?
I don't think it's confusing if, and this might be another hot take on a hot take, I don't think it's confusing if they put little cards in each pack that say what's banned.
Yeah, because we all loved the Into the Inklands rules cards so much.
Yeah, I think they need more cards with more words on them.
And Ravensburger is so famously good at communicating with its player base. Sure, we'll just constantly ban and unban cards.
I guess what I'm begging for is for cards to get banned, but I don't want anything to be that permanent.
I'm not sure about that as a take. Do you have another one?
Lorcana merch currently stinks.
What?
We need better stuff. You go to a DLC, of which we've been to 2, and the merch is not cool. It's boring, it's navy blue, and it's navy blue with gold as the accent, and the gold is not glittery. It's not bright. It's like mostly faded gold on a navy blue shirt. It feels like the kind of t-shirt that you get in elementary school for attending field day, and then you look back at it in 3 years and you're like, that shirt, A, doesn't fit me anymore, and B, looks like crap.
I think it looks mature. I think it looks sleek. I think that they didn't want to go down like a Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh route and design all of their merch for like 10 and 12-year-old kids. They made the merch mature. It's navy blue so that you can actually wear it with things. It doesn't, just have like a bunch of cartoon characters plastered on it and call it a good piece of merch. It's a nice, refined navy blue shirt with a cool logo on it.
Good afternoon. My name is Katie. I am a Disney adult, and I'd like to point out to you, Brett, that I happen to be wearing a beautiful necklace, which I would call adult, which I would call classy, which happens to have a Mickey Mouse and a Minnie Mouse intertwined with one another on a delicate silver necklace. That is subtle, that is cute, that is Disney, and I would buy 10 more of this necklace.
Well, what about the deck boxes that they made with Ultra Pro? We're talking about these nice navy fold-out magnetic clasp deck boxes that have the lore tracker that folds out from them. You've got a binder that's, has the nice Lorcana logo. It's all embossed. Those are cool.
What is the obsession with navy? What's the deal? Lorcana is built on 6 beautiful jewel-toned colors. And they could use those 6 beautiful colors in their merch, in their deck boxes. It would be lovely and understated and a little bit pleasant. Instead, it feels like it's being targeted towards men who don't want to be seen with colors.
Well, how about you just yuck everybody's yum? Because there are a lot of men who have seen these pieces of merch at DLCs and have elected to use their prize tickets to get those hats and those shirts and have represented them proudly after going to these events.
I fear I may be too offensive with the following statement. What if those men didn't have a fashion sense in the first place?
Okay. You'll have to let us know, dear listener, how you feel about these hot takes, because we've forced ourselves to disagree about these. So we want to know what you think about the Lorcana merch.
What's another hot take you've got for us, Brett?
Casual events are the most important factor to Lorcana's longevity.
Explain more.
So that's not DLCs. That's not having a world championship. That's not even your local store set championships. Casual events are going to be the thing that propels Lorcana forward. And Lorcana would exist and do just fine without any competitive events. But if they continue to not have casual events, then it will fail as a game.
This is certainly a very, very hot take. I don't disagree with you, and I like casual events, but I would take issue with saying it's the most important factor to Lorcana's longevity. Because, if I may have a short tangent here, as a theater teacher to many middle schoolers who do not want to learn about theater and don't care about theater and are only taking it because they have to, I find that I get the most engagement and the most payoff, and students learn the most when I add a layer of competition to what I'm talking about. If I say we're doing this drama game or we're doing this performance, and if you do well, you win, that I get more from it. And I would want to see, perhaps, the difference between engagement in casual events and engagement in competitive events. And I'm really not sure how that could be measured. But I wonder if they're both equally important to the longevity of the game.
In the long term, there are going to be competitive card game players who will gravitate towards wherever the best gameplay, the best prizes, etc. are. And it's going to be hard for Lorcana to continuously compete on that axis. But where Lorcana could maintain a constant presence and where Lorcana could always be attracting new players is through casual play. You're going to get so many more people interested in the game by giving out cards at the debut of Moana 2 in movie theaters than you will by broadcasting a Disney Lorcana Challenge on Twitch. I mean, just look at numbers. When you look at the amount of folks who are watching the Disney Lorcana Challenge, it's in the thousands, It's not more than 10,000. Whereas, how many folks got a Moana card at their movie theater? A lot more. If you start incorporating folks who are going to Disney parks, folks who are going on Disney cruises, anybody who's going to see a Disney film or see a Disney play on Broadway, the audience, the prospective base is so much larger. And it's going to be those kinds of casual customers who are going to propel the game forward for years to come. Competitive card gamers are fickle folks. It's hard to get them to stick through thick and thin. But Disney fans, hard to lose Disney fans. They're not going anywhere.
That is true. I can't disagree with that statement.
I think that we need to see those casual events pop up in the next year here. I think it's going to be critical to Lorcana's success. I think it's going to be critical to making sure that Ravensburger continues to devote resources to the game. Even when you look at DLCs, most people at DLCs are not competitive players. Let me say that again. Even at the Disney Lorcana challenges, most of the people there are not competitive Lorcana players. So even at these events that you have to pay lots of money to travel to, you have to be ready and willing to sacrifice time to be able to even get the tickets. Even amongst that pool of Lorcana players, most of them are casual players. There are more people at the side events. There are more people who don't really care about the main event. There are more people just there to watch than there are who are going in saying, I'm going to compete and I'm going to try to win this event.
Yes.
I'll admit that competitive play does drive people to the game and does drive up interest, and it is an important component of the game having success. But the aspect of the game that can really take it to a new level to be able to compete with the biggest and best in the TCG space, that's going to be casual events.
All right, I've got a hot take for us here.
Do tell.
I think it is a complete waste of everyone's time and artistry if we don't make these Lorcana-specific characters into some kind of a TV show or movie, right? Because they're not being used as cards in the game. We don't only see them in little pamphlets or little videos. And Disney's a movie studio. As Roy Disney himself once said, if we stop making movies, we die.
Can we just not have a crossover, like capitalistic crossover opportunity like once?
I'm sorry, but we're dealing with Disney, a capitalist giant. And I expect to at least get a jaunty theme song and one season of an okay TV show from this.
See, like, why do we just always seek mediocre cross-pollination of mediums from Disney? Like, why do we need this? We don't need this. Can't Lorcana just be good before we get the animated version of Lorcana that then is going to be translated into the live action Lorcana, which means that we then have like a new version of the card game that's based on the live action Lorcana rather than the animated Lorcana. Like, I just don't need any of that, okay? I just am happy with Lorcana. I'm happy with it being its own thing, with its own world. I'm happy to let the designers of the game make their own bubble, make their own IP within these parameters that they've set up. I don't need to see another cash grab, mediocre bit of media.
Do you want Mickey Mouse in the game?
Yeah.
Do you want Donald Duck in the game?
Yeah.
Well, then this is the price you have to pay. I'm sorry. This is America, Brett. You have to deal with the consequences.
So in order to subsidize Lorcana, that we need to have the animated show.
This is America.
Back to gameplay. I've got a hot take.
All right, hit it.
There should be a zero tolerance policy for cheating. If you cheat at Lorcana at any level, like literally any level, and you are found to have cheated in a game, deliberately misled your opponent, deliberately manipulated the game to make it more likely that you would win, if this is found to be true of you, you should have a lifetime ban from all Lorcana events, period.
Woof! It is tough to argue the counterpoint to this. Cheating ain't good, and people shouldn't cheat at games. I guess I wonder where the line should be drawn in terms of how long someone should be banned. Should it be a lifetime ban, or should it be that you cannot play for a year or for 2 years? Is there some kind of high Lorcana judge that needs to make a ruling? Does it all need to be the death penalty like this?
I think it does. I think recidivism is so high among card game cheaters. So often you hear about cheaters who they do their 6-month ban or whatever, and then they come back and then they do it again. I mean, we've already seen it in Lorcana. We already saw Raclem, a French player, admit to having cheated in a webcam game and then go down to Melbourne and in the quarterfinals or whatever, near the end of the DLC, was rule sharking his opponent and, manipulating the game state in his favor in a way that, was totally unsportsmanlike. I think at this point, don't we just know that this is not a person that we want to play card games with? We play for fun, and this kind of behavior just sucks all of the fun out. Because as soon as you have somebody who puts their own success, their own winning, before everybody else's enjoyment of the game, to such a degree. That speaks to your core values as a person. It's so incredibly selfish that I don't see you like suddenly turning over a new leaf, you know? It's so petty and it's so mean and it's so selfish that I don't think there should be a second chance.
Again, hard to argue against that. What do you have for another hot take here, Brett? Hopefully something that's a little bit easier to argue the counterpoint to.
All right. Sapphire right now, not overpowered.
Woo! I'm going to let you explain it a little bit more before I come in hot here.
I think that right now, because of how powerful the legendaries are, the new legendaries in Sapphire, Tamatoa and Scrooge, I think that because they are so powerful and because Belle is a really strong card, folks have overlooked some of the other developments in decks, have overlooked other cards because a few Sapphire cards were so immediately powerful. They made such an impact upon release that now Sapphire is being seen as this juggernaut, this invincible archetype, this unstoppable deck. But all the other colors got powerful cards too.
Yes, I hear what you're saying, that other people are ignoring other card colors, and maybe they're not giving them their due. They're not seeing how valuable those cards can be. I think the reason that they're not seeing it is because Sapphire is overpowered. Because it's so powerful, they've been blinded to these other cards that, sure, maybe they have power, but everybody's playing Sapphire right now. You can't see past all the Sapphire. There's too much Sapphire. I'm being choked by Sapphire daily in this meta.
How much willpower does Belle have?
3.
How much strength does Toby have?
1.
3.
Oh.
How much does Captain Hook challenge for with his challenger ability that costs 1?
Which Captain Hook?
Forceful Duelist from the first chapter.
3.
How much does Felicia challenge for?
3. I know, I hear you, but also, Sapphire stinks.
Sapphire is really strong, but there are answers. Whether or not it stinks is a whole other hot topic.
There are answers, yes, I agree with you. Sapphire has not broken the game. It hasn't ruined Lorcana. There are other decks that can be stronger than Sapphire decks. That is a fact. But I do believe it's fair to say that Sapphire is slightly overpowered.
What Sapphire cards are you worried about?
I'm worried about Belle.
We just talked about Belle. There's plenty of answers to Belle.
Okay.
Play Rafiki.
There are plenty of answers to Belle. What other answers to Belle can you play for free on turn 1?
Well, I can...
No, go ahead.
First of all, Belle isn't free. She costs 1, right? Because you have to play at least an item that costs 1.
Okay.
All right, and there's lots of things that cost 1 that can answer Belle.
All right, now to discuss this further, in order to play Belle, you've had to play an item and discard that item.
Yeah.
In a lot of Sapphire decks, having an item in your discard pile is a benefit. And oftentimes, people have been able to play either a Fortisphere or a Popsicle when they play Belle. So they are drawing a card and or getting a benefit by having an item in their discard pile. Now, I would like you to name me a card that costs 1, that is a 3/3, not a challenger +2, a 3/3 that gives you another kind of benefit in the game.
I'll do you one better. How about I name you a free 9/9? Ever heard of Chernobog?
Yeah, I have heard of Chernobog.
How much does he cost sometimes? 0.
Sometimes he costs 0.
Okay, what about if you flip a Maleficent Monstrous Dragon off of a Mufasa? How much did that cost you? 0. What if you want to play the new Tramp and you have 7 characters on the board? That costs you 0, right? There are all these conditions like, oh, it's free. Oh, it's free. There are a lot of things that are free, but you have to jump through all of these hoops. So yeah, you have to play items. And what if you don't have the item? Then it's not free. What if you don't have the cards in your discard? Then Chernobog is not free. Yeah, all of these different stipulations and hoops to jump through.
By the time I play Chernobog, my opponent has a bunch of other stuff on the board, and I have a bunch of other stuff on the board, hypothetically. I cannot play a free Chernobog on turn 1. I can't play a 1-cost Chernobog on turn 1.
Here's something. What if I play Cinderella Ballroom Sensation on turn 1?
Go ahead.
Right, and then I play 2 1-drops on turn 2 and I sing Strength of a Raging Fire on your Belle.
Yeah.
Okay, how much did I pay for Strength of a Raging Fire?
You sang it.
I sang it, so it's free?
Yeah.
There are lots of things in the game that are free. It's just another thing that's free. What other card besides Belle? What other card besides Bell are you worried about?
This is making me hate Sapphire so much more, and I think we simply must move on.
I don't know if I believe anything I'm saying.
I don't know if I do either.
It's a hard argument to make. I'm trying really hard.
You're doing a great job. I'm getting very frustrated.
What's another hot take? All right, I've got one. I'm going to spit some fire here.
Spit.
All right. Hoffensperker doesn't play test cards.
What?
That's my take. They don't play test.
Yes, they do.
Period. They do not play test.
Okay, what do?
They design extremely conservatively. They're careful to not make anything too powerful, and then they just hope for the best.
They definitely play test because we met some of the people who play test those cards.
Did you see them play testing cards?
They told me they did, and they had earnest faces.
Okay, listen. There's a difference between grabbing a starter deck and making sure the game functions at a basic level and trying to make meta decks using an entire card pool and doing it with both breadth and depth.
Yes, that is true.
And if I had to guess, I would say that any quote-unquote play testing is more of the former than the latter. Yeah, the starter decks work. Yeah, the Illumineer's quest, works. They had to try it out a few times to make sure that you could actually play the thing. But my hot take is that the reason that Belle is so strong and seems so overpowered is because they never play tested her.
It's possible. Or they knew that people kind of didn't like Sapphire, and they thought, let's add something else that's going to really make them all mad.
So they made Belle out of spite.
Yeah, maybe they just make all these cards out of spite.
See, I'm looking at the evidence here, okay? Let's look at the evidence. Hoffensperker, in terms of distribution of the game, has failed many times. Have they gotten better? Sure. Have they hired more people to fill these roles to help with distribution? Yeah, sure. But that doesn't change the fact that for like the first 8 months of the game, nobody could buy it. Let's look at organized play. It wasn't until months after the game launched that we got an announcement about organized play. Even when they announced the first Disney Lorcana challenges, they didn't announce all of them. The first Disney Lorcana challenge was, in terms of organization, kind of a train wreck. They've been flying by the seat of their pants across every single department. And so are we supposed to believe that the playtesting department was like really, really cohesive and strong and they've been playtesting everything beautifully and, really trying to balance the game as best they can with this big design staff? Why would we believe that? I think that they didn't playtest.
I think that they are a kind and honest folk and that they would never lie to us. And that's why they must playtest. Even if all the evidence points in the direction of not playtesting, I think that they did.
See, I think that most of the cards in Lorcana are so incredibly safe, and that's why the game hasn't been totally broken as of yet. And it is only that incredibly conservative design at the outset that has kept the game from breaking.
It's like they're driving with a blindfold on, but they're driving really carefully at 2 miles an hour, so they probably won't hit stuff for a while.
Yeah, they set themselves up on an airplane runway, turned the engine off, and said, look it, we're not crashing the car. Well, of course you're not crashing the car because you're not moving forward at all. I don't actually know if I believe any of this. And I'm being hyperbolic for sure.
We don't know what we believe at all. I have another hot take for us.
Okay.
I think that boards need clearer standards in terms of card management, in terms of knowing where someone's hand is, in terms of knowing where someone's ink is. I think that a lot of times, Lorcana boards get to be sloppy doozies. And it's stressful when you're playing against somebody else who has a really sloppy deck to figure that out.
So what are you saying? Like if somebody doesn't line up their ink in the right way, or if their cards aren't aligned nice and straight, that you want to give them a game loss or something?
No, but I think that there needs to be some kind of a consistent standard that people could be held to in order to have an organized board. They need to say your ink has to be below where you're playing, and your deck needs to be to the left of your board. And if you put your hand down, you need to put this special hand token on your hand so we know where your hand is. Or all of the cards in your inkwell need to be visible. Like they need to have visible corners so your opponent can count how much ink you have.
See, I want to take this hot take a step farther.
Okay.
I want to say, okay, your inkwell needs to be set up on diagonals in groups of 4. They need to be stacked from left to right over the course of the game. When you exert your ink, they need to be placed in separate piles of 4, etc., 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 right? I want it to be extremely prescriptive, and I want it to be that if you don't adhere to these extremely rigid guidelines, that you are given a game loss.
Honestly, I love that. I am drawn to madness by other people's boards sometimes. Sometimes the ink management is like slapping a deck of cards and being like, yeah, I got 7. And then their hand is also in a pile next to it, and their deck is a nightmare and also really wild looking.
Okay, yeah. So if at any point, maybe I'm being too fascistic in my rules. Maybe it has to be that your ink has to be clear at all times. And if at any point it's not apparent how much ink you have both ready and exerted, that you are given a game loss.
Yeah, and that brings up a point as well that people need to either exert all the way or not exert all the way.
Yeah, no 45-degree stuff.
It drives me up the wall when people do some of a turn.
Okay, so hot take. If you exert your cards at a 45-degree angle, game loss.
You can't play Lorcana ever again. Lifetime ban.
Lifetime ban for 45-degree exertions.
Yeah, even from casual play. Lifetime, even from playing in your home.
Hand shuffling, lifetime ban.
Woo!
Lifetime ban if you hand shuffle.
Yes, get out of here.
If you play without a playmat, lifetime ban.
Yeah. Ugh. Sickening. If you play while you're eating food and you get grease all over your card sleeves, lifetime ban.
Finger grease on your card sleeves, lifetime ban.
If you say Hiram instead of Hiram, lifetime ban.
Yeah, we're dishing out lifetime bans here. I know that
Sorry.
we keep talking about how we want Lorcana to be inclusive and it's all about the casual player, but ultimately we're trying to weed out the chaff.
Yeah, get out of here.
So these are our hot takes. I've got one more hot take.
Give us one more here, fresh off the griddle.
Hiding deck guides behind paywalls is necessary for the growth of competitive Lorcana.
You don't believe that.
I won't say whether or not I believe it. It's still my take on the radio here.
Oof.
On Hot Take Radio. These are my Lorcana takes en flambé. I believe that you need to have folks who are creating these deck guides in order to maintain the growth of competitive Lorcana.
I agree that people need to be building deck guides in order to maintain competitive Lorcana. But they don't need to be hidden behind paywalls.
Well, when competitive Lorcana in and of itself is enough to support a player base of professional players, if that ever transpires, then I would say sure. But as it is right now, when there is no news about a competitive circuit, when only a few stores across the United States anyway are holding tournaments that allow you to win cash of any substantial amount, I don't blame any professional player for leveraging their skills and their tournament successes and making a little scratch off of deck guides.
I suppose. But by that token, we should have all podcasts behind paywalls.
We're actually prohibited from doing that.
Yeah, I bet we are, because it's baloney to do that.
It's specifically because we're making content about Lorcana, whereas the guides are about strategy. We can't charge you to access our content. We can, however, promote our Tip Top Jar, tiptopjar.com/Smorcana. If you're enjoying what you're listening to, head there and dunk a few dollars in the jar.
Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum-bum. Tip top.
But seriously, there's no alternative for a lot of these players, right? Like, if you're Zan, Syed, and you're good enough to win a whole bunch of tournaments, if there are any that have significant prizing, but there's just no announcement about the future of competitive Lorcana. You don't know when Worlds are. You don't know when the next set of DLCs is. And you're looking at this game and saying, I have the skills to make money and be a professional player and help the game grow in a competitive sense. Like, what other alternatives do you have? You have to turn to these paywalls, to these Metafy guides.
That's a hot take.
Have you ever read any of these guides?
I have read some of these guides, but I have not read guides that are behind paywalls.
I have read a couple. I've just kind of glanced through a couple from friends who were subscribed to these guides, and I will say that they could use an editor. So maybe that will be my contribution to the paywall discussion. We can have a whole cottage industry where the people who figure out a deck and who want to make a guide can then hire a writer/editor to put the guide together, and then, also pay for like web hosting and videos to promote it, like commercials, and then like pay for spots on podcasts to promote the guide. Like there could be this whole industry revolving around guides for Lorcana.
Yes, and there should be. Let's make Lorcana into just a money-grabbing money machine.
Yeah, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Money.
And that's why we're proud to present Smorcana. It's Disney, snacks, Lorcana, money, America.
Well, those were some spicy takes, Katie. I don't know if I believe a word that I said over the last half hour.
I don't know if I believe a word I said over the last half hour, but that's the fun thing. With all this hot, spicy that we've been ingesting here, I think it's time we cool down. Maybe with a little mint. Maybe a little mint julep.
All right, here you go. I've got one for you. Here we have green fire.
Whoa, what is this?
This is an emerald item, 4-cost inkable, with the ability Dragon Breath. Whenever an opponent plays a character, put 4 damage tokens on them. Then banish this item. The flavor text is,
"You poor, simple fools." Wow, there is a very nice picture of Maleficent as the monstrous dragon here, absolutely obliterating Philip with some green fire.
Yeah, we wanted to piggyback on our hot takes with a fiery kind of dream card here.
This rare card certainly fits the bill.
So I think it fits in with Emerald's removal suite, where you get to put damage on a character, but there are lots of stipulations about like how that all works. So you have to play this item, and then it sits there, and your opponent can play around it, right? Where if they play, I don't know, like a 1-cost Diablo, an Amethyst Diablo, to kind of blow up the green fire, then they just cycle a card for 1, and you paid 4 for this item. So, that's a bad trade. But when you're ahead on board and you can maybe guess at what your opponent might want to do on their next turn, this can eat into their plans.
Certainly, and 4 damage is not nothing. That can kill a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like if you're going first, say, and you know that your opponent wants to play Scrooge on the next turn, you can play Green Fire, and then they either have to play Scrooge and lose Scrooge, or they have to divert from their plan, play something else to eat up your Green Fire, and then continue on from there. So an interesting kind of bit of removal for Emerald. I just am always a fan of seeing different kinds of removal in the game. I would like to see a more varied toolkit across all of the colors to remove characters.
It's also fun to see this removal in item form.
I do want to call attention to the syntax, which is strange. The syntax, I'll reread it here. It's, whenever an opponent plays a character, put 4 damage tokens on them, which kind of makes it sound like you're putting 4 damage tokens on the opponent.
Yes, it does.
That unclear apposition, but it does have the same syntax as Vanish, so I went with it. Vanish, which says, when an opponent chooses this character for an action, banish them. It kind of makes it sound like you can banish your opponent.
Yeah, I really like imagining someone playing Green Fire and misreading that, and then gently putting a dice on top of their opponent's hand.
Yeah.
That has 4 on it. And then banishing Green Fire.
Yeah, there is some strange syntax for sure, but I think this at least mirrors similar texts in the game. If you're designing this from the ground up, you might want it to say, whenever an opponent plays a character, put 4 damage tokens on that character. That would be the clearest way in English to execute this. But as it is, we'll have it line up with the Vanish text.
Who has time for syntax?
Not the Hoffensperger testing team that might or might not exist. Katie, what's next on the menu?
Oh boy, oh boy. We are going to continue playing in our Lorcana League. We're just getting into the run of League right now. We will have more to report, I'm sure, about the color combinations that we're leaning towards and any great trades or pulls that we find ourselves getting. We have still only pulled one Chanty so far. It was Donald Duck, so that technically counts as like 100
6
Chanties.
or so, yeah, 100, yeah.
Yeah, but we're really crossing our fingers for Chanty Puller 2K25.
I'm attending a 1K this weekend. I don't know what deck I'm playing. We're recording on Wednesday night, and I have absolutely no idea what I'll be playing on Saturday. Will it be a meta deck? Will it be something off the wall? I don't know.
I think you're going to have a blast no matter what you play. We're going to certainly jam in some games tomorrow and Friday and really get you feeling primed and ready for a Saturday.
Looking forward to that. Now, we're going to try to get back on track as the weeks progress here, so hopefully we will be releasing the next episode closer to the regularly scheduled time on Monday. We'll work our way back towards that. In the meantime, you can follow us on all of the social media networks. You can email us at smorcana@gmail.com. We always love to hear from you. And please do consider leaving us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
And also consider leaving us your hot takes. We'd love to hear your hot take. Give us a hot take when we go to post this dream card. Give us a hot take when we post about something else. We want to hear from you. We're happy to discuss it right here on the podcast and love engaging in Lorcana discourse with y'all. Remember, you can always leave us a lovely tip in the Tip Top Jar. Tip Top Jar, it's the place to go if you want to dunk a coin or you want to dunk some dough. Tip Top Jar, and don't you know, that's the way. Yeah, let's go!
Yeah, nice song, Katie.
Thanks. Tip Top Jar wrote that, not me. Until next time, everyone.
Keep on snacking, y'all.
Tip Top Jar, it's a place to go. Tip Top Jar, you wanna drop some dough.